You want to build something great. You want to achieve greatness, but the road to greatness is not easy. And it's not smooth. It's rough. It's filled with challenges, obstacles, setbacks, and moments where you feel like giving up. But I'm here to tell you, if you want to be successful, you have to force yourself to be consistent. Success doesn't come to those who are lazy. Success doesn't come to those who wait for the perfect moment. Success comes to those who are disciplined enough to show up every single day and do the work, no matter how they feel. You see, we all have dreams, aspirations, and goals. We all have things that we want to accomplish, but the truth is, it's easy to be excited about something at the beginning. You get fired up, you make plans, you set goals. You're ready to conquer the world. But then reality hits, it gets hard. Life throws challenges at you, you experience setbacks, you might fail. And all of a sudden that excitement begins to fade. The motivation starts to dwindle, and you begin to question whether or not it's worth it. But here's the thing, success isn't about motivation. It's about discipline. It's about forcing yourself to keep going even when you don't feel like it. It's about being consistent, even when you don't see the results right away. And it's about doing what needs to be done every single day, even when you're tired, even when you're frustrated, even when you're uncertain about the outcome. Consistency is the secret. And consistency is what separates the winners from the losers. It's what separates the successful from the unsuccessful. It's what makes the difference between those who achieve their dreams and those who give up along the way. You have to force yourself to be consistent. It's not easy, but it's necessary. Let me tell you something. When you wake up in the morning, you have two choices. You can either get up and do the work, or you can hit the snooze button and go back to sleep. You can either go to the gym, eat the right food, and work on your goals, or you can make excuses and tell yourself that you'll do it tomorrow. You can either push through the pain, the struggle, and the discomfort, or you can give up and take the easy route. But if you want to be successful, if you want to achieve greatness, you have to choose the hard path. You have to choose to do the work when it's difficult. You have to choose to stay disciplined when it's uncomfortable. You have to choose to show up every single day, even when you don't feel like it, because that's what it takes to make it. Consistency doesn't mean that you're going to be perfect. It doesn't mean that you're never going to make mistakes. It doesn't mean that everything will always go according to plan. No, it means that you're going to show up every day regardless of what happens. It means that you're going to stay focused on your goals and keep moving forward, even when things don't go your way. There's a quote that says, "Success is the sum of small efforts repeated day in and day out," and that's the truth. It's not about doing one big thing and hoping that everything falls into place. It's about doing the little things, the small actions every single day. It's about building the habits that will eventually lead to success. It's about putting in the effort when no one is watching, when no one is applauding, when no one is telling you that you're doing a good job. The thing about success is that it's not a destination, it's a journey. And that journey requires consistency. You can't just show up for a week, a month, or even a year and expect things to magically happen. No, you have to keep showing up over and over again. You have to stay focused on the long-term vision, even when you're not seeing immediate results. Now, I know some of you are probably thinking, but it's so hard, I don't know if I can keep going. I'm tired, I'm frustrated, I'm ready to quit, and I get it. I've been there. I've felt that way. I've wanted to throw in the towel. But let me tell you something, the moments when you feel like quitting are the moments when you need to push the hardest. Success is not for the faint of heart. It's not for the people who are looking for an easy ride. It's not for those who want instant gratification. But what about when things aren't going the way you planned? What about when the obstacles are piling up and the road ahead seems impossible? That's when consistency becomes even more important. That's when you have to dig deep and find the strength to keep going. Here's something that I've learned: the people who are successful are not the ones who never fail. They're not the ones who never face challenges. No, they're the ones who keep going when everyone else has given up. They're the ones who don't let failure define them. They're the ones who get back up, dust themselves off, and keep moving forward. You have to develop that kind of mentality. You have to learn to embrace failure as a part of the process. You have to understand that setbacks are not the end of the road, they're just a detour. And the key to pushing through those setbacks is consistency. You have to keep moving forward no matter what. And I'm not just talking about consistency in your work. I'm talking about consistency in your mindset. I'm talking about consistently believing in yourself, even when no one else does. I'm talking about consistently pushing yourself to be better, to do more, to reach higher. I'm talking about consistently showing up as the best version of yourself, even when it's hard. So when you get up tomorrow morning, don't wait for motivation to strike. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Don't wait for everything to be right. Just do the work. Take that first step, no matter how small, and then do it again the next day, and the next day, and the next day, because consistency is the key. You have to trust the process. You have to trust that if you keep showing up, if you keep putting in the work, if you keep pushing through the challenges, you will see the results. You will get to where you want to go. But you have to keep going. You can't give up. And I'm not telling you that it's going to be easy. I'm not telling you that it's going to be comfortable. I'm not telling you that it won't be tough. It will be. It will challenge you. It will test your patience, your willpower, and your strength. But if you can stay consistent, if you can stay disciplined, you will come out stronger on the other side. In the end, it all comes down to this. Are you willing to put in the work? Are you willing to show up every day, even when it's hard? Are you willing to force yourself to be consistent, even when you don't feel like it? Because that's the only way you're going to achieve anything worth achieving. The power of consistency is real. And it's the difference between those who succeed and those who don't. So what are you going to do? Are you going to sit back and wait for success to come to you? Or are you going to force yourself to be consistent day in and day out until you make it happen? The choice is yours. The question is, what are you going to do with it? Success is not a matter of luck or the occasional moment of brilliance. It's a result of consistent, deliberate effort. There are countless stories of people who've achieved great things, not because they were the smartest or the most talented, but because they consistently showed up, put in the work, and kept going even when others would have quit. Consistency isn't glamorous. It's not the big flashy moment that everyone sees. It's the small, everyday actions that people don't notice that create true, lasting success. If you want to achieve anything in life, whether it's personal growth, professional success, or mastering a skill, you have to commit to consistency. It's the key that unlocks the door to success. But that doesn't mean that consistency is easy. It's hard work. It requires discipline. It means doing the same thing over and over again, even when you don't feel like it, even when the results aren't immediate, even when the road gets tough. But the good news is that consistency doesn't demand perfection. It simply demands persistence. The first thing you need to understand is that success is built over time. It's not an overnight achievement. It's the product of the small actions you take day after day, year after year. The problem is that people often expect immediate results. They start something new with enthusiasm, but when they don't see quick changes, they get discouraged. They think that maybe they're not good enough, that they don't have what it takes. But success doesn't work that way. It's not about instant gratification. It's about laying a foundation of consistent actions that compound over time. Think about any skill you've mastered. Whether it's playing an instrument, learning a new language, or building a business, the process of becoming proficient at anything involves countless hours of practice. It requires repetition, patience, and a willingness to keep going even when progress seems slow. The key to getting better at anything is showing up every day, putting in the effort, and trusting that those small actions will eventually lead to growth. In many ways, consistency is like planting seeds You don't plant a seed and expect to see a tree the next day. You water it, you nurture it, and you give it time to grow. Some days you might not see any progress at all. Other days you might notice a small change, but over time the tree starts to grow. The same principle applies to success. If you show up every day and put in the effort, even when you don't see immediate results, you're planting the seeds for your future success. Consistency also breeds self-discipline. When you commit to doing something every day, whether it's exercising, reading, writing, or learning, you're building a habit. And once a habit is formed, it becomes easier to do the work without even thinking about it. It becomes part of your routine. The more you do something, the more ingrained it becomes in your life, and the less effort it takes to continue. But discipline isn't just about doing the work, it's about showing up even when you don't feel like it. There will be days when you're tired, when you're discouraged, when you don't feel motivated. On those days, the most important thing you can do is show up anyway. Because the days you don't feel like doing the work are often the most critical. It's in those moments that you're truly building your character, your resilience, and your ability to push through discomfort. It's important to understand that consistency doesn't mean doing the same thing mindlessly without thinking about how to improve or refine your approach. It's not about repeating the same action just for the sake of repetition. It's about doing the work consistently, but with a mindset of growth. Every time you show up, you should aim to get a little bit better, a little bit sharper. Whether that's learning from your mistakes, trying new strategies, or refining your technique, you should always be improving while remaining consistent in your efforts. The most successful people in the world didn't get where they are because they had a sudden burst of inspiration or a stroke of genius. They got there because they committed to their vision and put in the work every single day. The difference between success and failure is often not the amount of talent or intelligence you have, but how consistently you apply yourself. Consistency will help you overcome obstacles that might otherwise seem insurmountable. It will push you to keep going when things get tough. It will teach you patience and perseverance, two traits that are essential for long-term success. Another powerful aspect of consistency is that it builds momentum. Think about a train. When it first starts moving, it's slow and takes a lot of effort to get going. But once it gains momentum, it becomes unstoppable. The same is true with your efforts. At first, it may feel like you're barely making any progress, like you're stuck in one place. But as you continue to put in the work, your momentum will build. The more consistent you are, the easier it becomes to keep going. The harder it is to stop. Eventually, you reach a point where success starts to flow more naturally, where the work doesn't feel as heavy, and you start seeing the results of all your efforts. There's also the element of accountability. When you commit to consistency, you create a structure for yourself. You set goals, you create routines, and you hold yourself accountable to follow through. It's easy to make excuses when you don't have a system in place, but when you have a consistent routine, it becomes harder to justify skipping the work. You know what you need to do, and you have the discipline to do it. Accountability, both to yourself and to others, can be a powerful motivator to keep going when it's difficult. One of the challenges people face with consistency is dealing with setbacks and failures. Everyone faces challenges, everyone encounters failure. But what separates those who succeed from those who don't is how they respond to failure. Failure is not the end of the road. It's simply a detour. The key is to stay consistent, even in the face of setbacks. Each failure is an opportunity to learn, to grow, and to become better. The more you fail, the more you learn, and the more equipped you become to succeed in the future. Success is not about avoiding failure, it's about failing forward, learning from your mistakes, and using them to fuel your next step. The idea of consistency doesn't mean that you have to be perfect. Perfectionism can actually be a hindrance to success. If you wait for the perfect moment, the perfect conditions, or the perfect plan, you'll never get started. You'll be paralyzed by fear and uncertainty. Instead, focus on progress, not perfection. Focus on showing up, doing the work, and getting better each day. Consistency doesn't demand perfection, it demands persistence, growth, and a willingness to keep moving forward. Success is not something that happens overnight. It's a long-term game. It requires patience, persistence, and most importantly, consistency. If you want to achieve something great in your life, whether it's a personal goal or a professional one, you have to commit to the process. You have to be willing to show up every day, even when it's hard, even when it's uncomfortable, and even when you don't see the immediate results. Because those small, consistent actions will eventually lead to something big. The key to success is simple consistency. Keep showing up, keep doing the work, and trust that your efforts will pay off in the end. Life is not a straight line. It's full of curves, bumps, and unexpected turns. Sometimes you may feel like you're climbing a mountain only to slide back down. There are days when things go wrong, and the weight of failure presses so hard on your chest that it feels like you can't breathe. Setbacks and failures are inevitable, but they don't define us. What defines us is our ability to push through them, to learn from them, and to keep going despite them. In those moments of failure, it's easy to feel defeated. It's easy to want to give up, to throw in the towel, and to tell yourself that you weren't cut out for success in the first place. But giving up isn't the answer. Failure is not an indicator of your abilities or your potential. It's simply a stepping stone on the path to success. It's important to understand that the road to greatness is filled with obstacles, and how you respond to those obstacles will determine whether or not you succeed. The truth is, setbacks are part of the journey. No one achieves success without facing failure. Some of the greatest success stories in history are built on a foundation of setbacks. For example, Thomas Edison failed over 1,000 times before he successfully invented the light bulb. Michael Jordan was cut from his high school basketball team before becoming one of the greatest basketball players of all time. Oprah Winfrey faced rejection after rejection before becoming a media mogul. Each of these individuals faced tremendous obstacles, but they didn't let failure stop them. Instead, they pushed through their setbacks and kept moving forward. One of the most powerful lessons we can learn from setbacks is that failure is not final. It's not the end of the road, it's simply a detour. When you face a setback, it can feel like the universe is telling you that you're not meant to succeed. But that's not the case. Every failure is a lesson. Every setback is an opportunity to learn, grow, and become better. The key is to view failure not as something to fear, but as something to embrace. When you embrace failure, you understand that it's a necessary part of growth. Without failure, there is no learning. Without failure, there is no progress. It's easy to get discouraged when things aren't going the way you planned. You put in the effort, you do the work, and you still don't get the results you expected. But in those moments, you have to remind yourself that success is not a destination. It's a process. It's about continually moving forward, regardless of how many times you fall. The people who succeed are not the ones who never fail, they're the ones who keep going after each failure. It's that resilience, that ability to pick yourself up and keep pushing forward, that separates the successful from the unsuccessful. To push through setbacks, you first have to change your mindset. When you're working toward a big goal, it's easy to get caught up in the big picture and forget to celebrate the small victories. But those small wins are just as important as the bigger milestones. Every time you push through a setback, every time you keep going when things get tough, you're making progress. Take the time to acknowledge your efforts and celebrate the fact that you didn't give up. Those small wins add up over time and help build the momentum you need to push through future setbacks. One of the most common reasons people give up after experiencing a setback is because they feel like they've hit a wall. They believe that they've reached their limit, that there's no way forward. But the truth is that you're often closer to success than you think. Setbacks can make you feel like you've gone as far as you can go, but in reality, they're often just tests of your resilience. If you push through, you'll often find that you're on the verge of a breakthrough. Success is just beyond the point where you feel like giving up. When you push through that wall, you'll find that things start to fall into place. It's crucial to remember that setbacks are not a reflection of your abilities or your potential. They are simply a part of the process, a challenge to be faced and overcome. If you let setbacks define you, you'll never move forward. But if you use them as stepping stones, as opportunities to learn and grow, you'll come out stronger on the other side. Keep pushing forward, keep learning from your failures, and keep moving towards your goals. The path to success is never linear, but with perseverance, determination, and a willingness to push through setbacks, you'll get there. Failure is not the end, it's just a part of the journey. Keep going, and you'll eventually reach your destination. Motivation is often seen as the driving force behind success. People often believe that in order to achieve something, they need to feel motivated, whether it's starting a new project, reaching a fitness goal, or pushing through a tough work week. We hear motivational speeches, read inspiring books, and watch videos that pump us up to take action. But the truth is, motivation is fleeting. It comes and goes like the wind. You can wake up one day feeling incredibly inspired to take on the world, but the next day the fire might burn out, and you're back to feeling stuck, unproductive, and uninspired. The problem with relying solely on motivation is that it's inconsistent. It doesn't last long, and it doesn't show up when you need it most. That's where discipline comes in. Discipline is the key to achieving long-term success. Unlike motivation, discipline doesn't depend on how you feel on any given day. It's the ability to do what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like it, even when you'd rather be doing something else. Discipline is the cornerstone of achieving lasting success because it's consistent, reliable, and sustainable. It's the foundation on which great accomplishments are built. The most successful people don't wait for motivation to strike, they rely on discipline to push them forward, day in and day out, regardless of the circumstances. One of the key differences between motivation and discipline is that motivation is an emotion, while discipline is a skill. Motivation is an external force that can spark action, but it's not dependable in the long run. It's easy to feel motivated when everything is going well, when things are exciting, and when you're seeing quick results. But motivation doesn't show up when you face challenges, when you encounter setbacks, or when the initial excitement wears off. It's in those moments that discipline takes over. Discipline isn't based on how you feel, it's about doing what you said you would do, regardless of how you feel at the moment. It's about following through, even when it's hard, even when the journey feels long, and even when the results aren't immediately visible. Consider any successful person you admire, whether it's an athlete, an entrepreneur, or an artist. They didn't get to where they are by waiting for motivation to strike. They got there because they committed to showing up every day, regardless of their mood, energy level, or circumstances. They put in the work when it was hard, when it felt repetitive, and when they weren't seeing immediate results. Discipline is what allowed them to stay on course, to keep pushing forward, and to keep improving. A great example of this is in the world of sports. Athletes, whether they're professional basketball players, Olympic swimmers, or marathon runners, don't rely on motivation to get them through their training. Motivation might get them started, but it's discipline that gets them through the long hours of practice, the rigorous workouts, and the setbacks. Athletes train every day, even when they don't feel like it. They push through exhaustion, soreness, and frustration because they know that discipline is what will ultimately bring them success. They don't wait for the perfect moment or for the motivation to appear. They've built the habit of discipline into their lives, and that's what carries them through the toughest times. In the business world, discipline is just as important. Many successful entrepreneurs have stories of working long hours, facing setbacks, and pushing through countless obstacles on their path to success. They didn't rely on motivation to get them through the tough times, they relied on their discipline. They set goals, created systems, and stuck to their routines, even when things didn't go according to plan. They didn't wait for inspiration to strike. They were disciplined enough to keep going, no matter how hard it was. The same is true for creative endeavors. Writers, musicians, and artists don't wait for the perfect inspiration to create. They know that the key to success is showing up consistently and putting in the work. Many writers have written countless pages of drafts that will never be published. Many artists have painted over pieces that didn't work. And many musicians have written songs that never see the light of day. But they kept going because they understood that discipline was more important than waiting for motivation. They understood that the only way to make progress and improve was to keep working, even when the results didn't come immediately. One of the biggest advantages of discipline over motivation is that discipline helps you build momentum. Motivation is powerful in the beginning, but it's easy to lose steam as time goes on. The initial excitement fades, and you're left with the task of continuing, even when it's not as thrilling as it once was. Discipline, on the other hand, helps you stay consistent and build momentum over time. The more you do something, the easier it becomes. The more you show up every day, the more ingrained it becomes in your routine. The more you practice, the better you get. Discipline creates a snowball effect that leads to greater success over time. Building discipline also involves making things automatic. When you're motivated, you might feel like you need to have a burst of energy to get things done. But with discipline, you don't have to rely on energy or enthusiasm to take action. You create systems, routines, and habits that make the work easier. You set specific times for tasks, establish patterns of behavior, and make the work part of your everyday life. Over time, these habits become second nature. You no longer have to force yourself to do the work because it becomes something you do automatically. The process of building discipline requires self-control. It's about making decisions that align with your long-term goals, even when it's difficult or uncomfortable in the short term. Discipline means saying no to distractions and temptations, even when they seem more appealing in the moment. It's about staying focused on what matters most and not allowing yourself to be sidetracked by things that won't move you forward. It's about making sacrifices in the present for the sake of your future. Discipline also helps you overcome procrastination. We've all been there, the feeling of knowing you should be doing something but putting it off because you don't feel like it or you're waiting for the right moment. Motivation can give you the energy to start, but discipline helps you push through procrastination and make consistent progress. When you're disciplined, you don't wait for the perfect time to act, you just do it. You take small, consistent steps toward your goals, even when you don't feel like it. And over time, that consistency leads to real progress. Another benefit of discipline is that it builds resilience. Life is full of challenges and things don't always go according to plan. You will face setbacks, obstacles, and moments of doubt. But discipline helps you stay committed to the process, even when things aren't going well. When you have discipline, you don't give up at the first sign of trouble. Instead, you keep going, knowing that failure is a part of the process and that you can always get back on track if you stay committed. Discipline builds mental toughness and allows you to keep going, even when it feels like the odds are stacked against you. It's also important to understand that discipline doesn't mean you have to be rigid or inflexible. Discipline is about consistency, but it also involves adaptability. It's about sticking to your goals and routines, but being able to adjust and pivot when necessary. Life is unpredictable, and things don't always go as planned. But when you have discipline, you can adjust your approach, stay focused on the bigger picture, and keep moving forward no matter what obstacles come your way. In conclusion, while motivation is a powerful tool, it's discipline that truly sets successful people apart from those who struggle. Discipline is what allows you to keep going when motivation fades. It's what helps you build momentum, stay focused, and overcome obstacles. Discipline is about doing what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like it. It's about making small, consistent efforts toward your goals day in and day out. Motivation may spark your actions, but discipline keeps you going, no matter what. Success isn't about waiting for motivation to strike, it's about developing the discipline to show up every day, put in the work, and keep moving forward.